Hello there, my very good friends. On today's wrestling news, we have all the fallout from the Raw after WrestleMania 38, including a shocking top title change, former tag team champions splitting up, 2 new wrestlers who have been pitched for Edge's new heel stable. But first, Ezekiel. I'm Andy for WhatCulture.
And I'm Michael Sidgwick for WhatCulture.
And this is the news. Right, Ezekiel, let's talk about this situation, I guess. I mean, there was lots of newsworthy stuff. Assessments of quality aside, we got Veer finally came as well, so that was overdue. MVP turned on Bobby Lashley. He's hanging out with a mask now. Bobby, of course, progressing forward as a heel, and the feud must continue. But Ezekiel, right? The biggest and weirdest thing on the show was Elias coming back. Clean shaven, jacked as hell, orange trunks. In this segment with Kevin Owens was cutting a promo in the ring. Out came Ezekiel. Kevin Owens was like, "You're Elias." Ezekiel was like, "No, I'm his brother." "No, you're Elias." "No, I'm his brother." "No, you're Elias." That's how it went. And that's kind of how it ended as well. There wasn't any real, showdown between the two. There wasn't any tease of something greater to come later down the line. It just kind of faded away. What's the phrase? Frittered away.
Frittered away.
That's the one I'm looking for. That's what happened. So Elias has obviously been gone for a long time. Last year he had his program with Jackson Riker, which he lost. A month or so later, he had some vignettes where he was like, "Elias is dead." He was smashing the guitar, going to the graveyard, suggesting he was being repackaged. It took a long ass time for us to get here, but here we are. There were reports that Vince McMahon thought he looked too much like Randy Savage, which is oh, okay. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to confuse him for Randy Savage, God rest his soul. But
Jesus
you never know.
I didn't know that story.
No, it's mental, isn't it? Absolutely mental. But I can't really make sense of this. Can you?
Well, it's a shame that he's turned into Ezekiel, because you like to remember the great memories of Elias. You know, his absolute classic with Ricky Steamboat at WrestleMania 3. The reconciliation angle at WrestleMania 7, you know, all these great memories.
The rap album.
Yeah.
Of course.
Be a man, Jackson. I honestly, I was a little bit bemused by this, which I expect was the point. I would be a liar, an absolute liar, talking out both sides of my mouth if I wasn't a little bit interested in where this goes. Trust me, I don't think it's going to go anywhere good. It's phenomenally wacky. It's something that is it's WWE in 2022. You can't expect huge moments to inform great storylines and great character arcs, but it's stark what Kevin Owens did 48 hours ago to what he just did on Raw last night. This is so odd. I've got no analysis on something so odd, other than I'm kind of not into watching Raw next week on a detached, let's see how this plays out, basis. This is just so weird.
It's very, very strange. And I must confess, before Ezekiel walked out, when his name showed up on the Tron, I thought it was an Ezekiel Jackson comeback.
I'd love that.
Which would be totally random.
I'd love that.
Why not? 2022, we're getting weird. Right, there's a title change on Raw as well. It's the NXT citle. Braun Breaker is the champion once more. This, of course, follows him losing the belt to Dolph Ziggler in a triple threat that also featured Tommaso Ciampa a few weeks ago. And then at Stand and Deliver last week, Dolph Ziggler retained against Braun Breaker. And that had us sitting here going, what the hell's going on? Is Braun going up to the main roster? Is he done with developmental? Apparently not. The match was preceded by a video package showing how manly and machismo he is. And then we got the match itself, and Braun beat Dolph Ziggler. He's the new NXT champion. They've done traditionally in wrestling, it's a weird thing to do, is using a super show to set up a title change on weekly TV. But it's the kind of thing they've been doing for ages, you know. And it's also it's kind of redundant for WWE in this era where pay-per-views don't need to be sold because they're on a streaming service. So booking is what it is. But yes, Braun is the champion once more. If I was a betting man, I would say that they've probably done this to give people a little sliver of Braun. Give main roster audiences a glimpse of this guy and what he brings to the table before they eventually bring him up at some point. Doesn't feel like they're going to do that immediately with the NXT Championship, but it was a featured match for him on the big show. So, what do you reckon of this?
I would say that this is an example of having cake, eating it, and not really working. I think it was strategy at the expense of creative, because what happened here is that Dolph Ziggler ate pin after pin in various tag team matches involving the Dirty Dogs and Breaker and Ciampa, and then he actually won the belt when it just felt like, oh, let's get ex-main roster guy onto television. He then retains the title at the big, quote-unquote, theoretically big Stand and Deliver, and then loses it back. It's very convoluted. I think they're trying for short-term ratings grabs at the expense of a sort of decent, well-thought-out story. The shock value has long since lost its shock with me. Not how I would have booked it at all. I just think it's more messy than anything else. They wanted a main roster guy on NXT to inflate the ratings by a tiny decimal point. To their credit, they accomplished it with the whole idea of, on possibly the most highest rated show they're going to do all year, or at least one of them, they can sort of strap up Breaker, crown him as the man for a second time. It's all just a bit messy and I think ineffective for me.
Yeah, and we'll see if it translates to any increased interest in NXT once Dolph is off that show. But here we are. Tag team split up on Raw. Well, two of them might have actually, because there was some stuff with Rhea Ripley, but we'll talk about Rhea Ripley in a little minute. Carmella and Queen Zelina are no more. This has been coming. A few weeks ago on Raw, they were arguing and stuff. Then at WrestleMania, they lost the women's tag team titles in that four-way. Naomi and Sasha Banks, they won the belts. Last night on Raw, they were supposed to have a match with Natalya and Shayna Baszler. It didn't happen. Zelina got on the microphone and said, "It's your fault, Carmella, that we lost the belts. You're so self-obsessed." Corey Graves, all of that stuff. Carmella dismissed this and then condescendingly offered Zelina to be a flower girl at her upcoming wedding. She said, "The Queen's Crown tournament that you won last year, it doesn't mean anything." Zelina attacked her. Carmella bailed out of the ring, jumped into Corey Graves' arms. The WWE really want to know that these people do indeed have sex with each other. So they made out. Zelina was like fizzing in the ring. And that's it. The tag team's over. Look, we know when WWE throw two singles people together, they're going to split before long. It's just what they do. It's how they handle tag teams. It's particularly how they handle tag teams in this division. So no great surprise here. They've been champions since like November, and yet they'd only defended the belts once since winning them, so not exactly a reign for the ages. But I guess it's par for the course for the women's tag division.
Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely meaningless. If I was a generous man, I would say that, you know what, Zelina Vega does have potential as a babyface. She's got this incredibly sympathetic backstory. She's got a very fiery disposition. If you watched her on sort of like the watch-alongs,
I have not.
In like sort of years gone by, she's really witty, like in a really scathing way, but she's really got a sense of humour. So there's definitely scope for a half-decent babyface in Zelina Vega, but unfortunately it's WWE TV. It's probably not going to go that way. I'm not interested.
Witty in a scathing way. Maybe we should get her on the channel.
Yes, absolutely.
Fitting well, for sure. Finally, we're going to talk about potential members for Edge's new faction. This, of course, came together at WrestleMania. Edge defeated AJ Styles with the help of Damian Priest, who did the ye olde distraction finish. Last night on Raw, they were in the ring, bathed in the blue light, which subsided. They spoke. They're in suits. They're a gang now, Edge and Damian Priest. But Fightful Select coming through with the report yesterday, talking about people who've been pitched. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that these people are going to join for sure, but they've been pitched, they've been brought up. Rhea Ripley is the first one, and interestingly on Raw, of course, she had a bit of a argument with, more frustrations with Liv Morgan after they lost the women's tag team title match. So, if you want to put 2 and 2 together and get 28, you can maybe say that that's going to link together, but that's not part of the report. That's just me editorializing. Another, Tommaso Ciampa, and again, there are signs of him moving on to something new. At Stand and Deliver, he had what was heavily promoted as potentially his final NXT match. He lost to Tony D'Angelo. My impression's not that good. After which he was embraced by Triple H. It was like a nice emotional moment for Triple H coming back and of course embracing Tommaso on his way out. So those are your names that have been linked. It is noted here that even the people who've been pitched for this stable haven't been clued in on the plans for Edge and his team, at least at the time of publishing. So there you are. Do you reckon these two would fit in well to this spooky new group?
Well, do they like metal? Because that seems to be the premise of the group.
Yeah.
It's Edge using his creative control here to form a faction. It's possibly in the most sort of like nice of intentions. He wants to use his star power to elevate those around him and really do something with this deep roster that WWE itself doesn't do a great deal with. But it seems to me on the surface that he's pinpointed the people around him who he rates who just really like metal and darkness, and it's maybe a little bit lame for me. Honestly, in the arena last night, the reaction, they kind of didn't like it at all. It felt to me like everyone in the arena thought it was somewhat laughable. That sort of very ambitious double team move they did didn't help. It's like a sweep and a spear combination, but Edge had taken him off his feet before Damian Priest had done the sweep. That either needs to be like as accurate and physically timed to perfection, or they just need to put that one right on that back burner. Yeah, I mean, Tommaso Ciampa's got a massive beard. Looks like he likes his metal. Who was the other name?
Rhea Ripley.
Of course.
She loves her metal.
She hardly likes jazz.
yeah.
You can tell from the aesthetic that she's a metalhead. Maybe we'll come up with a name for the faction imminently.
Yeah, maybe we will do that. We're going to head to our Twitter questions after running down Raw. Timothy Bristol asks the following.
I like Yacht Rock.
Yacht Rock.
As you can tell.
I'm a Midwest emo kind of guy.
Me too.
What's that band? American football?
American football are incredible, man.
Tremendous. Timothy Bristol. Sorry, that sounded really condescending. Critically acclaimed. Much respect.
No, I love American football. I'm not taking the piss.
No, I know. I'm just saying, I'm more of a Rites of Spring guy because I'm even more pretentious.
I love Rites of Spring. Discord Records, man.
There we are.
What an era that was.
Grey Matter, Fugazi, Embrace, all of that. Shout out to all our music nerds.
Embrace?
Yeah.
Not the World Cup 2006
no.
song. A different, exponentially better Embrace.
The British Embrace were rubbish, weren't they?
They were pretty dry.
Gravity falls. Wake up, man. Just stop it. Right. Timothy Bristol. That was a weird sidetrack. Timothy Bristol with our first question. Timothy Bristol, let's say his name again. Thank you, Timothy. Hi, legends. Is Ezekiel / Elias the worst return in post-WrestleMania history? Also, are they just burying Ezekiel before he gets off the ground? In history's tough. That's a lot to go through. The only one in recent memory that I can think of that was whack as hell in a similar way was probably Lars Sullivan. But at least he got heat for beating up Kurt Angle.
There's a secret history of what on earth is going on here, bollocks, as it pertains to WWE bringing back and trying to repackage various stars on the post-Mania Raw, or at least the few weeks after WrestleMania takes place, and sort of they reset storylines. Obviously, because it was so great once upon a time, the Raw after WrestleMania is kind of synonymous with your Brock Lesnar returns, your Dolph Ziggler title wins, like all of this stuff. But they've got this history of just picking someone at complete random, seemingly, who they had no plans for, and then just saying, well, let's do this with him. Darren Young. Shining stars, it's happened before.
The Shining Stars,
yeah,
I forgot
they
about
were like
that.
a post-Mania sort of deal, make Darren Young great again, all of this, and it feels like Ezekiel, God bless him, is probably going to fit more in that mold than the Brock Lesnar return mold, if we're being perfectly honest. So yeah, I'm not convinced it's the worst. They've got this weird history of just doing stupid stuff. Funnily enough, WWE do have this.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, I'm morbidly curious of how this is going to play out. Our next question comes from Nick, who has included a couple of pictures of his cats. Lovely stuff, staring out the door. Listening to Creedence Clearwater Revival, obviously, eh? Nick asks the following. What are your names?
I think they're all Bad Brains cats.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Fair play, sailing on and all that. What are your names for the Edge Priest stable? I've got one.
Go on.
House of Whack. There you go. after Brody King's tweet last night, how could it be anything else?
Kings of the Whack Throne. Look, let's do a deep cut, right? Me and Murray, complete old school metalheads. By old school, I'm not talking about the new wave of British heavy metal or anything like that. We like Metal Hammer in 1999. So let's do a deep cut for people who will pop for like a reference, like about Earth Tone 10 instead of Earth Tone 9. Some kind of deep cut metal reference, because basically this is a group of lads and potentially lasses who like metal.
If they get a bit money, we could call them Earth Tone Wine. There you go.
Well, Edge is a bit like this.
He is a bit drippy, isn't he? Anyway, finally one today comes
Mycene.
Mahumodo. Hulk Hogan asks the following. Morning, gents. How long until they strap up Cody, or do you think they will fumble him too quickly? My grim prediction, my watch the world burn prediction is Roman Reigns, and this is speculative. It's not based on anything apart from that picture that came out after WrestleMania. Roman Reigns has a torn, whatever, bicep, tricep, whatever. He's got an injury. He needs to vacate. What did WWE do? pick their two most popping guys at the moment. Well, two of Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar squashes Cody Rhodes in 2 minutes. Game over.
I think that assessment is a bit dag nasty. In terms of what I think is going to happen, and really the precedent at this point is so minimal, and my sort of cynicism is quite blanket at this point, but look what's happened. You'd have to honestly, it's an interesting question. You'd probably have to go back, right, to 1991 to find a star that WWE has simply preserved as the sort of character they are and pushed them massively right off the back. And that's in the case of Ric Flair. He didn't get like some kind of ridiculous King gimmick, and he wasn't repackaged as someone like Ted DiBiase or Jake the Snake or whatever. He was preserved as this interloping presence coming into a new company as a star. The exact same thing happened with Cody Rhodes. That is absolutely monumental given what we know of WWE's history. Yes, Goldberg's debut did very well as well, I guess, but that all went like sort of off the rails slowly. But what I'm driving at is that they've done something that they really don't do often. It's remarkable. More than that, if nothing else about Cody Rhodes' promo, you can absolutely tell 1,000,000% that unless some like creative writer is uncanny with his grasp of Cody Rhodes' voice, that was an unscripted, trademark Cody Rhodes promo. They're giving him promo time. They're giving him the freedom to create his own words. They are presenting him as the American Nightmare. I don't think they're going to fumble him yet.
Yeah. And they kind of have to get it right as well, because this is like a trial run for anyone else who might be thinking about crossing over.
It's
from
a prospectus, is what it is.
100%. This is like, they get this wrong. Who on earth in AEW is going to go, yeah, I'm going to go there where they messed up our biggest guy? So, yeah, very interesting. It's going to be fun to follow Cody's run for sure. The guy's pure chaos. Whatever's going on, I cannot help but pay complete and utter attention. Anyway, let us know what you think in the comments section below. You can hit us up on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. The two of us will be back tomorrow with the news. Follow Michael at
Sidgwick.
You follow me at Andy H. Murray. The H stands for hey. Have you met my brother? He's bald, and he's not bald. He's got a clean face, and he's jacked, and he's really weird.
Aiden.
He's got yep.
Aiden Murray. What?
And Ezekiel. That's terrible. Right, let's just shut this thing off. What a disaster. Bye.